And we are rolling. I am here with Mr. Andrew Evans. Hello, sir.
How are you?
Doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing good.
You know, watching these last couple of weeks, I noticed my go-to word is fantastic. I know you do a lot of podcasts yourself. So have you caught yourself saying any words over again or phrases or sayings?
Yeah. Well, first off, I say a lot. It's like my filler noise. It's not even a word. It's just like a noise that I make. I say a lot. Now I'm going to say all these things, and everyone's going to be listening.
I love it. Let's get raw. Yeah. It's like I say fantastic. I've made up words. People have told me, hey, that word's actually not real. I'm like, cool. We're making up words.
Oh yeah, when people start listening to it, you hear all the words that you pronounce wrong over and over again, week after week.
It's like 70-30s. 30% is like, hey, that was good content. 70% was like, this word was pronounced wrong. You had a smudge on your shirt. It's like, thanks for the pick me up. All right. Hey man, welcome to our interview. Welcome to our fundamentals for the fall. I know that you're on the road and you're literally taking this from your hotel room. So thanks for making the time and doing so. A quick hot news off of the laser jet printer. President's Banquet standings week 5 of August, and you had just solidified number 2 for $108,000. So you are on your way to President's Banquet yet again, sir.
Who's beating me?
Miss Katie Capone. I mean, she's at 138. She's not stopping. So
all right, Katie, let's go.
Yeah, and she's, by the way, at the interview in the next couple of weeks. So a shout out to Owen Trapp for 3rd place at 76K. Mr. Logan Franke, Fort Wayne at 68, and then I love seeing Colin James, North Baltimore, 68,000. Fantastic. So top 5. See, fantastic. All right, dude, tell us a little bit about you for our 1.3 million viewers. By the way, we are just climbing the charts. Last week 1.2, now we're at 1.3 million viewers. Tell us a little bit about you in case they don't know.
Yeah. So I started off working with at least the company. I'm originally, I'm in my hometown right now, even though I'm in a hotel. I'm from Jupiter, Florida, which is in Palm Beach County. So it started off, my first summer was in 2013 in the Palm Beach office. And after that first summer, I started with a manager named Chris Drow. That first summer, I transferred to the Fort Lauderdale office. The next summer, I was an assistant manager in the Fort Lauderdale office in the pilot, which was like an hour and a half from where I lived at the time. So that was a really fun assistant manager summer. After that, I got the opportunity to become a branch manager in Boca when I was in college. So I went to Florida State University. When I was there, I studied, I got 3 different degrees in finance, real estate, and entrepreneurship. And then after throughout college, I ran a couple branch offices. So I ran a branch office in Boca Raton, Florida. I think we were top 10 that first summer. Ran a branch office in Miami. The first summer in Miami, that was the first year we won our first Silver Cup. We did like 350. Next year, we did my 3rd branch office in between my junior to senior year. And that was also in Miami, and that's when we broke the all-time national record for branch offices, and then became a district. So then Carlos Cordero at the time was in Tallahassee, moved down to Tampa. I was going back up to school for my senior year. Tallahassee's like 9 hours away from Miami or so, maybe a little bit less. And I went up there and then just ran the office around so my first fall and spring was around my senior year of classes. I was finishing that. And I was pretty involved at my university and school, did a lot of other stuff outside of that. And then once I graduated, moved back down to Miami, and now I run a full-time office there as well. So personally, I do fitness is really important to me. I've always done like a lot of I coach gymnastics like growing up. I did parkour, some other weird stuff. I did like a lot of like weird. I was into film and magic and all sorts of weird stuff growing up. So, but now I like I said, fitness is important. I have a podcast on iTunes. I have our Coco office, and I love connecting, leading, helping other people, and traveling a lot too.
With all of that was great. There was a lot to take in there. But did you say magic as in like, how about Magic or Magic the Gathering?
No. Magic, like, so my first job, like, so I've always, and like when I started working at Cutco, it was just natural. I've always been like a entrepreneur. My first job was running my own landscaping company, which was like fancy way of saying I mowed people's
Those
yards.
lawns, for sure.
Yeah,
Me too,
I mowed
dude.
y'all on. So I went around my neighborhood, like in 5th grade. I don't even know, 13, 12 years old. I went around, passed out flyers, knocked on every neighbor's door, passed out a flyer for like that. So then I just started mowing people's yards. I did that 2 summers. And then I just could only get so much business, and my lawn, like, stuff kept breaking. So I started thinking about what else I could do. And I was doing magic at the time. And I was pretty damn, like, I don't want to like put myself pedestal, but I was good at magic at the time.
I don't
And
want to brag, but I'm pretty awesome at magic. Like,
not anymore. I don't know. I haven't done anything in a long time, but I was pretty good at the time, to the point where I, at least for my age. So, and I actually pulled out a yellow book, phone book, and just called through all. This is in 6th grade, so I don't know how old I was, but I called through all like the restaurants in my town, and basically just called them, asked to speak to the manager, and just was like, "Yo," and like at the time my voice was probably super high. Just asked them if they needed a magician. So they got a couple gigs, went in there, we like impressed the managers, and then started working certain nights of the week. I was like, "Hey, I'll come in, I'll do it for free, I'll just work off of tips." But I was making like, you know, 70, 80 bucks in an hour in like 6th grade, doing magic in restaurants. And then yeah, and then I started coaching gymnastics, which I didn't even do gymnastics, so that was weird too. And I started coaching it because I called them too. I don't know. Anyways.
wow. So I guess if we were, this is an actual part of the message too, which I had nothing in my notes here. What I've realized about you so far is that when you do things, you kind of go all into it. If it's
I'm a very 0 to 100
yeah.
guy. Don't do too many things in moderation. So when I do something, you know, there's like a Jameis Winston quote, right? We're gonna do it big. So it's like you gotta play your game. You gotta play your game.
Okay.
Go all in on whatever game it is that you're playing.
Well, even in the intro, we've got some nuggets there. I do appreciate your flow of the business of your sales rep to an assistant manager, 90 minutes from the office. Obviously, we don't, promote that and like, hey, drive 90 minutes to your office. But you did that, branch manager multiple times, DM. I love your flow. So it's not just like I'm going to come in and I want all this success immediately. You've really earned it and you've really grown for it. And that's great to see. I love it's reassuring that you're doing it the right way and your success is following it, which is great. Hey man, what are some things that you're proud of? Some personal accomplishments, anything within Vector that you'd like to share before we go into a couple of instructional questions?
Yeah, I mean,
we got magic. I know magic is up there, so we're.
you want in the business or out of the business?
Either one, man. Take 2 and go with it.
I'll give you one in each, maybe. So,
yeah.
All right, in the business, I think, what am I proud of? I can give you like 1 or 2 things. The first thing for me, I think the first thing I was proud of was when, the first time I won a silver cup was a cool moment for me. And now, the competition doesn't really matter very much. But at the time, it did when I won that first silver cup, because I'd never been number 1 at anything in my life up until that point. I was good at a lot of things. So like I was also in music. I was like one of the best trombone players in the state, in middle school. And then, but I was number 2. And I was kind of like, I wrestled in high school. I was pretty good, but not like the best. I was just like good. And I was just good at a lot of things, but I was never like the best at anything.
I got you.
So for me, that summer was like my first time I won a silver cup. It was like the first opportunity where I really got I had the feeling of being jack of all trades and master of none. And it was kind of like, hey, this is my opportunity to really dial in and dive down head first. And like, actually, like, that was the first time I was actually ever able to say like, hey, I was the best at something, at least for the summertime. For that year, it was like, hey, I was the best. And that was an important kind of just transition in my life. And that was something I was proud of initially at the time. What I'm most proud of, and I guess in the business, is just the people that I get to work with and the people we've developed over the years. I mean, we've had some really exciting stuff happen in our offices, but I know what's coming here over the next, year or 2 out of the Spartans organization is going to be really more exciting than anything, as some of these managers and leaders that I've gotten a chance to work with and develop over the past few years are going to be springing out and running their own offices. So really excited for that, proud of that. And then, I don't know, we can just stop there.
I get it, man. Cool. No, I appreciate it, dude. Then one of the cool things about the Silver Cup is that in some experiences, the Silver Cup is their highlight, but also their lowest valley, because once they win a Silver Cup, it's like, what do I do now?
Oh yeah. And I 100% experienced that, after my first Silver Cup. It's one thing I always tell people. It's like really, competition. We actually had a podcast on this about competition should be used as a motivator and as a driver for yourself and for your people, but like it should never be the reason why you're doing something, because whether it's competition or just a sense of achievement. I think a lot of people work to achieve. And that's something I did for a lot of time in my life. And in fact, that summer when I was working towards that silver cup, I did win the silver cup and it was great, but I was like, it was a sense of achievement that I wanted to, do. And it was good because I got to check off the box and I might have not gone there. But the thing is, like, when you work really hard for like a sense of achievement, right? What happens is, and you have these goals, like one of two things happens, right? It's like either you work there to get those goals and then number one, either you never end up reaching that point, you never hit it, you never become what you wanted, and you feel lousy about yourself because of it, or worse, you actually hit it, and then you hit it, and then you're like, well, now what, right? Because that was like my only purpose, that was my vision, that was my goal that I was working towards. I thought about this moment all the time. I thought I was going to feel a lot differently than it did, and then you get there, and you're like, well, this is all it is. And, it's always a lot more about the journey than it is like the actual destination, the process that you're actually going through.
It's funny, man, because indirectly we just stumbled upon an amazing topic. And whether the instructional question was asked or not, if we could just take a minute and just chat about what you just talked or reconfirm it or just put my 2 cents into it, one of those numerous times in a career was I got to get to this trip. And you put your identity, you put your significance on a trip, a 2-day payoff. An award that sits amongst the trophies, Hall of Fame, Court of Honor, and I got Darth Vader there because that's the importance level of it. And it's funny because you strive so hard to hit it, and I've been a personal victim of this, right? That you've reached higher levels than what you could have, but then once that level is hit, there's not that fulfillment, and then it's followed by the lowest valley. So I relate to you 100%, and it's just a great reminder for those who already know it, but it's a great tool to teach our new people that, hey, striving for these events, striving for these tangible payoffs, the awards, once you receive it, it's not going to give you the fulfillment that you were aiming for. And if you don't hit it, oh my God, all this was lost. So just an indirect point, Andrew.
That point, John, by the way, like I think that's just it is. Competition is great. I love competition. I'm super competitive, but it's a great tool is what it is. It's a great tool to motivate yourself and other people and drive other people, but it should never be the reason why you're doing something. And, at the end of the day, it's like, yes, we have these trips. Yes, we have these cool trophies, but at the end of the day, we're business people. You're running a business, so the real goal here is not to win the trophies. It shouldn't be to hit the contest periods and to like go hard and hit something for 2 weeks just so you can go back to, lower standards. It's like, hey, we're building a long-term business. And can you have, that's like one tip that I can give to all the new managers is like, you have to have a couple year vision for your business. You have to have, like, you can't just be running a week-to-week business. Hey, here's the contest. Okay, so now I should go out and recruit. Right, here's the next period. Oh, so P-Banquet's here. Now I should start doing this. Right? It's like, yes, and it's good to think in the time periods, but you have to think with like long-term vision of like, hey, what's the type of organization? How many people do I want? What are the kinds of people I want 2 or 3 years out? And that's what you're promoting, working towards. Because when you have a little bit longer vision, like when you go through a rough spot, it's not as big of a deal, right? And also when you go through the high spots, it's not like, oh, we made it. It's like, no, well, that's where we're trying to go. It's still a long ways out, and this is what we're building, working towards, and we have that longer vision.
Yeah. Wow. Great. Totally indirect of a question. I just think it's a very, because a lot of these calls are not a president's banquet call, right? These calls are focused on the fundamentals for the fall. And by the way, if and when you do these things, you might potentially win a trip to president's banquet. And you've been a few times. You just won your 3rd time, and it's September, early September. But that can't be like the reason. It could be a reason, but not the reason. And I think you just did a great job in explaining that, and just an amazing reminder. And I'm glad that we stumbled onto that and you talked about it.
The trips are great though. Like I would highly recommend. Do not miss P-Banquet.
For sure.
Like, you don't want to miss it. But I mean, it's not your identity. But be there. I love it.
Please don't think that I'm saying not. Since our first call with John Kane, it's like the backdrop. This is not geared just for President's Banquet. Do everything you can to get there, but know that come January 1st, there is a whole new year ahead of you. And if you do hit the trip, it doesn't mean that you're the best ever. And because you don't hit the trip doesn't mean you're bad. Just because you sell doesn't mean you're great, and because you don't sell doesn't mean you're bad. And I love it, dude. Just great insight thus far. So I want to go into one of a general question that I typically ask our people, and I'd love for this for you because you've got a fresh perspective. The people that we've spoken to thus far have ranged between 5 years to Tina Marie I interviewed last week, which was like almost 19 years in the business or something like that, or 15 years in the business, something like that. For you, being a few years fresh in the business, being a district manager and having a high level of success, what are some things that you wish you knew, when you first started, that you've stumbled upon finding out now that has really helped you propel your business? What are some things you wish you knew going back when you first began?
Yeah, I think, there's a lot of things. I think,
man. Go for it.
and one thing I can say too, this just before I even talk about this for everyone listening now, is that I remember you were talking about earlier, John, my trajectory in the business, and it makes sense. Like that I've had all these years here in like AM, branch, district. But each of those years originally, I never had that long-term vision originally. I didn't have that when I was first starting. I would just I was AM, I was trying to branch, and then I became an AM, and I was like, all right, I'm done after this summer. And then I just allowed myself to be open. I was like, yeah, maybe I guess I'll branch. I want to get that experience with my branch. I was like, okay, I'm branching, but I'm not branching again. Right. And I was like, but if I do branch, I want to make sure I'm trained. So I trained throughout the fall and spring, and I ended up branching again. But then that second summer, I was like, all right, I'm not even going to say I'm not going to do anything. I should keep myself open to the future. So, and the reason I can always stuck around with it, and I've always stuck with, Fiacco and Vector and enjoyed what I do is because I just always see more opportunities to grow. And at the end of every campaign, at the end of every year, what we get as entrepreneurs, as salespeople, as mini CEOs of our organizations is we get a big mirror that allows you that essentially reflects right back at you. It's the same reason I did wrestling growing up, is that it's a team sport, but it's an individual sport. So it's not where I play team sport where I can blame, well, that guy didn't block this person, and this person should have been over there, and you dropped the ball, right? It's all on you. Right, you get 100% full out mirror reflection of your results and your leadership is ultimately the resistance that you get from people is ultimately a reflection of your influence on them. So then that first summer I remember seeing hey, I just got a chance to look at, hey, I'm really good at this, I'm really good at this, and I'm really bad at this, and you just get to see all the things that. It's just, there's so much value there, because if you didn't run an office, if you weren't in a position of leadership, you don't really get to see those things oftentimes. Those blind spots aren't revealed to you. So I think a lot of them are personal, but I can talk to you about, from my experience as my manager the first time I went into a fall, because I'd ran 3 or 4 summer Fiacco businesses and good branch offices. But going to Tallahassee that year, Round School was my first fall. And I feel like there was a lot of things that I didn't realize at the time that I wish I would have known, hindsight. And I had spent these summers, grinding out, building these big, massive summers. And, the first thing you just have to understand about the fall and spring is just a little bit of a different beast. It's a little bit of different culture, because we are working with students that are in school. It's a little bit more I think the one thing that someone could have told me, and by the way, this was going to be the opposite advice for some people that had a really slow, relaxed summer. But for me, having an aggressive summer, right, going into the fall, is someone just told me relax. That's the one word I wish someone would told me a little bit more. By the way, now that I say that word out loud, I don't mean relax in terms of not work. I meant relax in terms of management style.
Absolutely.
Clarify that. I don't mean relax, just chill. I mean relax in terms of the way I manage people and managed and ran my office. There should be a little bit more of a relaxed vibe. Right. I think about a lot of the culture of the office that I had. It means how many demos you still have to have standards in your office. They should just be a little bit more relaxed standards. Right. So there still should be demo standards, how many demos they should be doing on a weekly basis, but it's just a little bit more relaxed in the summer. In the summer, it's if you're not doing 7 to 10 demos, this is not a job. This is a hobby. Go. If you want a hobby, you can go, crochet with my grandma, collect model cars, whatever. But this is a job, and you got to be treating it like it's a job. So, but during the fall, for a lot of people, you have to think about what does a student want during the fall, right? And in my opinion, it's hard for some managers because you've made a lot of money. You have reps making thousands of dollars in the summertime. You think that's what I need to get everyone to that. At least that's what I thought. But, realistically, what do most college students want in the fall when they're working part-time around their classes? They want to make $150, $200, maybe $300 on a weekly basis. They want to make $200 a week and work part-time and have a flexible schedule. That's really what they want, So it's catering an office and making that important. I think it's a lot of one-on-one management. During the summer, you don't really need to know what's going on with every person. You don't you have them. You just got to get them to events. You get them to the next conference. You get them to the team meeting. You get them to the Sunday paycheck meeting. You're good. right? And you don't need to necessarily know what's going on throughout the week. It's just, hey, get them to the meeting, make sure they get appointments booked up. Cool, we're good. We'll talk to them a little bit on PDI. During the fall, it's not the case, right? Like you have to be a little bit more flexible with people in meetings. You have to be able to do a little bit more one-on-one management with when they're getting phone jams. You have to be just a lot more. Like you have to know what's going on in their schedule. You can't just call them randomly if they're in class. You call someone every single week, every time they're in class, they keep telling you, yo, I have class these times, and you keep calling them. They're going to get annoyed at a certain point in time with you. So I think it's a little bit more of a relaxed management style and more relationship focused. Building relationships with your students, really figuring out what it is that they want, what their goals are. And so we use Web PDI a lot more during the fall and spring to track our reps. Like we have everything listed out in terms of like, hey, this person, their class schedule, what they're motivated by, what their goals are for the semester. And like those things help kind of coach and manage more because you don't need people popping $3,000 a week. But can you have a team? Can you get recruiting heavy? Can you have a team of 20 to 30 people that are selling like $500 a week, right? That are getting a couple orders in, 2 to 3 orders in each week. You got a team of 15 people getting 2 to 3 orders each week, you will have a really, really successful fall. And that's all it takes. So it's like not having a macro vision, scale it down to what you really need and focus on doing the things that are going to get you those results. I just talked for a lot. So
let's put a pin in that for just a second. I mean, it's nice to hear too, because let's call you a young soul in the business, right? And we've had a Larry Manley and we've had the Tina Marie, the Justin Neefus, and combined theirs, they got like 100 years in the business. They've got a few years in the business. But what I'm picking up from you is so similar to what they're saying, is that it's a one-on-one management. It's knowing your people. It's having quality conversations. By the way, just to clarify, I didn't make a lot of money when I was younger. I was mowing lawns and painting houses, aka my neighbor's shed. I called it painting houses. $50 a week for me in college would have been, oh my gosh, you know what I mean? And obviously there's more money to be made today, but not even thinking that I could make $100 or $200. Heck, how about asking a student, in a one-on-one PC, hey, how much money is enough for you per week? How much money would make you feel comfortable per week? Yeah. How much money would make you sing per week? Oh my gosh, if I could make $200 a week, I'd be like the coolest person in dorm room A. Cool. Do you want me to show you how to do that? And it's nice because I think that we sometimes forget where they're coming from. Where $50, $75, $100 in their pocket per week, it's gold to them. And yeah, I agree with you 100%. The big part I do want to highlight, though, is the one-on-one management, and I've said it, and I want to highlight that. It's getting to know them, calling the person, because that's what PDI is supposed to be. You're calling somebody to connect with them, and if you're calling them during science class, they're going to pick up the first 2 or 3 times, right? But then after that, you're starting to get voicemails, and it's going to be white noise, and you're gonna burn through people. And building the relationship, you said it perfect, building the relationship to know what they want, so therefore you can help them get there. Excellent stuff. So whether it's a PC, when do you typically do this, by the way, with reps? How do you start to develop this, or when do you develop this relationship with them?
I mean, my opinion is your culture, your relationships, the standards that you have. I mean, that starts on the phone. This is before they even come in for the interview. Okay. So culture of your office always starts, before they come in. Then the interview, if you're, I don't run the interviews in our office, but if you're, a recruiter, if you are one of the recruiters in your office, right, it connects the second you meet them, introduce yourself to them in the lobby, sure. Like the relationship starts. I think in training is your first real opportunity to really sit down with them, get to know them a little bit better, talking about their whys and why they're doing what they're doing, what their goals are, connecting in throughout the training, talking to them their first weekend. And then, after they finish their first 10 days, I think that's really when you pull them into the office, or that first Sunday. Right now, what we're doing in our office is we do all of our virtual PCs on Sunday. So our reps come in every single Wednesday for the team meetings. And then on Sundays, we have reps come in. Some reps come in that are working a little more full-time and booking up appointments Monday through Wednesday. But if we have people that are really not doing much throughout the first few days of the week, and they're doing mostly weekend selling, we don't even have them come in. We'll just have them hop on FaceTime with us for 15 to 20 minutes. But building that relationship with the reps, I think, is really, really important. And they have to have that relationship with someone. I think a lot of times, too, because we do this so often, we just underestimate The fact that, because we have just so many reps come into our offices sometimes. So, we'll let people go in into it, and they've been working on our job in our office for 3 or 4 weeks, and they don't even know anybody. Like they don't, they legit, like they're just there, they don't actually, again, which during the summer you can do that, but during the fall and spring, yeah, during the fall and spring, it's different. I think you got to tie people on. I think you got to introduce the rest of the people to your team, and you got to actually build relationships with people, that are working in your office. You can't just like kind of talk to them every time they come in the office and so they too. Like you got to get to know them a little bit. And maybe it's not you, but they've got to have a relationship with somebody. They're not, people don't quit managers. Or people don't quit jobs. They quit managers, is the saying, right? And, it makes it really easy to quit when you barely have a manager.
For sure. If you know nobody on the team, it's easier to walk away from it.
It's very, very easy for reps to quit when they have zero relationship. Why? They don't even care. They don't even have to tell you they quit. They're just like, hey, peace out, because there's no one that they feel obligated to even talk to or tell or have a conversation with before they think about quitting. They're just like, I'm done with this job. I don't know anyone there. So having, I think, building like someone in the team is your assistant, it's your Dom, your PSM, yourself, someone in the organization has to have a relationship with that person, or they're not going to be there for very long.
Yeah, that's amazing. Even in the X amount of years I've worked in the business, and times are tough, and I could tell I wasn't super motivated, and people always ask me, like, man, when are you going to be done selling knives? Are you still doing the knife thing? And even to this day, people still say that, and it's like, but it's not about that. Like, it's about the relationships that I developed with people, and I feel like I'd be letting them down. Like I said, I was going to do certain things, and if I didn't have those relationships and I spouted my goals out, when times got tough, it would have been a little bit easier to walk away. But because of your goals, because of your aspirations, and then the relationships with people, there's more connections for you to want to stay. And if we can simplify that to a rep level, that from the moment that you talk to them on the phone, we're not asking them how much money they want to make on an intro phone call, right? But it's the culture. How are you doing? What school do you go to? What major are you? Okay, here's how you were referred to us. In the interview, dressed up nice, having the office looking good. Then you get to training, and then that's your first deep dive. I loved how you went, like, just the timeline of it. And then you went your first weekend. Like, that first weekend PDI call makes everything real. No matter what you talk about up to your first PDI call is kind of potential, but that first weekend PDI call, they just experienced the demo, that's when it's really real, and you can really dive into them, what it is. And then you went to your advanced training and then your post fast start. Like, so I don't know if you know, but that flow right there, that is a huge nugget that you can't talk about the amount of money you want to make on the phone on an interview setup, but it's the start of it. And then by the time that the post fast start happens, that's 15, 20 touches, 2-minute PDI calls, a 10-minute PC. So by the time post fast start happens, you've got an hour, 2 hours of one-on-one time, let alone training and a team meeting. So again, excellent stuff, man. The weekend warrior status, I remember this back in the old days, was if you could pop out $500 on the weekend because Monday through Friday was school. I don't want to touch work.
Right now, or is it $750 or something?
It's probably evolved. I just remember Weekend Warrior, and there was an award for it. There was a newsletter. There was a special chair.
We still do have Weekend Warrior. At least, I don't know if it's regional, national, but we have it at least in our region. And
I love it.
$bucks a week. Or no,
That's
it's like
cool.
maybe $750 for the weekend.
Whatever. It's something to where you recognize that it's a weekend warrior. So we recognize that some people only want to do weekends. So between Friday night at 5 and Sunday night at midnight, it's the weekend warrior status, and it's promoting to what your team is most available to doing. So that's great, man. You've touched on it a little bit, but the mindset from the fall into the summertime, you said the word relax. And I think it's such a great mentality of relaxing. And how do you shift that gear though, Andrew, going from the summertime to the fall where you're not working 80 hours in a week, right? How do you make that shift? What would be a tip to go back and give our newer management staff that hasn't experienced it yet? How to have some grace for themselves?
What I would say to those people, what I would say is 80%. 80%. Meaning if summer is your 100%, fall and spring should be your 80%. And I say 80% for a reason because, I think, again, like you're going to mess up. If you try to go 100% all in the fall, like you're probably not going to do great. Or you might, but, you're going to burn out. You can only go 100% for so long. Like you're going to 100% the fall, awesome. And then you're going to burn out by the time January program comes around. right? You go 100% in spring, you burn out by the time summer rolls around. But I think at the same time, I think some of the times the managers mistake and they make, and why you'll see some managers have great summers and then have, rough falls, outside of some of the skill set stuff, so a lot of times it's just they go from 100% to like 30%.
Yeah.
They're working 80 to 100 hours a week, waking up every single morning at like 6 a.m., 7 a.m. during the summer for their alliances. And then they get to the fall and they start waking up like 10 o'clock.
That's it.
Like, you still have to work. You still have to you have a job.
I love it.
I think that's a big thing is that like district managers sometimes like they just think they don't really have to work very much in the fall and spring. And it's like, you should still and that's one thing too. I notice about some people that don't experience a lot of success, John, is like, I genuinely believe if they just treated their job as a district manager, because there's so much flexibility in it, right? But if they just treated their job in the fall and spring like a 9 to 5, and from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., they weren't doing anything other, Monday through Friday at least, they had to dedicate that time to work, right? And they had to be working on something inside of the business. They would probably experience higher results, right? Like I genuinely think that. They just showed up to their office from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Throughout each and every single week too. So I think it's lowering it down to 80%. I think it's like, hey, maybe you don't wake up at 6 a.m., but you shouldn't be up later than 8 a.m., Monday through Friday at least, or in the fall and spring. Like that should be like the latest, you're getting up. And again, that's 8 a.m. is like later than most of America has to wake up to go to work. Right. But what I'm saying is like, you gotta rein it back in a little bit, but just don't rein it back in too much.
Yeah.
And I think you have to be a little bit consistent. Like you still have to run a business just a little bit less. And then I think about, actually that's good. Stop there.
I can't agree with you more, man. And I'm picking up on what you're putting down. But it's the 80%, it's the intensity, it's the work effort. Like, hey, you don't need to go summer mentality. It's like playoff mentality. You don't have playoff mentality in the preseason, but you still want to have intensity. You still want to put the effort into it,
and I think, it's kind of like, again, like you have your season, you have your preseason, you have your off season, summer for us is probably our season. But, look at Olympic athletes, look at great athletes. Like, what do they do in the off season? They're still working, they're still training, but they work on their weaknesses too, so something that's big in our division, our region is just like, we have like edge training for all of our TLA members that are going back into TLA for a second time, or for a district manager too. Like, yes, you rein it in a little bit, but you should use that the extra time that you have as an opportunity to work on some of your weaknesses in the business. Because we all know when spring rolls around, realistically, like again, once you get in the summer, you forget about your weaknesses. You just focus on your strengths. The hot hand, and spring becomes a little bit more execution and setup time. But fall is really your opportunity, in my opinion, to run the business and then have the ability to step back to do, some other things. And I don't mean step back too far. I don't mean go down 50%, but with that extra 20 to 30% that you have now with your time, maybe you didn't see your family as much as you wanted to during the summer. And that's an opportunity like to do things that are going to make you better. Right. And sometimes it is actually taking a break, taking some time off, getting some rejuvenation, rest time, right. And doing things like that. Maybe it's, you didn't prioritize your fitness during the summer. You're doing that now. And maybe the latter half is you're diving into business. You're watching a video every single week, re-scripting out training, relearning your interviews, looking at your numbers and stats in the summer and where you can button up and get a little bit better at. But I think that it's like, hey, an intentional little bit of step back so you can work, but to make yourself more better and more prepared and the better individual to run your organization throughout the rest of the year.
I think a lot of times people are looking for that major win, that grand slam ball, and those are great. But it's the singles, it's the walks, it's the getting on base, it's just the activity, the 1% along the way, recognizing those mini wins. So I guess it's a rhetorical question, and you can feel free to answer. But to the listeners and to the people, it's, hey, what are you currently working on? And not a laundry list of 35 things, but what's that area of opportunity that you fell a little short on the summertime that you're working on? And it's rhetorical, but Andrew, if you have that in your mind that you want to feel free to answer, go ahead. Is it the training? Is it the interview? Is it a part of training? Like, what's that specific part that's going to help you work on this, but it's going to help fulfill so many other avenues of your business? Like, what's that thing that you're working on in the fall that's going to catapult your business to the next level? But it doesn't have to be major, massive wins. It could be just a small win along the way.
Right.
And it's rhetorical. You don't have to necessarily answer that, but I was just saying, if you did have something off the top of your head that you're working on, go for it.
Well, I don't know. I've got a long list, so I don't know what to say. But
You know what, man? I mean, you said so much, and I want to keep it to where like a couple of more questions that we can wrap it up. But and transitioning from this section is I love this from fall reflection, spring training, summer execution.
yeah,
And whether that sticks or doesn't stick, but your fall, let's reflect. And then your spring, let's really start to train. Now, granted, you're training during your reflection time, right? But your training in your spring is really gearing up.
I
And
would say, yeah, like summer is the season, summer is the game, summer is the tournaments. You know,
yeah,
fall is the off season. Fall is the off season in terms of like this is where you are working on your weaknesses.
for
I would
sure.
say fall in my opinion is your opportunity to train. I think spring is prep time. Spring is
Prep.
prep the summer. Fall is your training time to work on the opportunities. But realistically, I mean, January, February, once we go to March, once we go to the national trip, Paris, like summer is kind of here. Basically, it's
Yeah.
game, it's execution time, it's prep time. You know, so there's not a whole lot that there's not a lot of things that you're not going to get a lot really good at a lot of things in the middle of summer, except by trial and error. And during the spring, there's not too much stuff outside of maybe January, February that you can really do to prep and get good at things. So, you know, fall is growth season.
Yeah.
Fall is growth season every single time. That's the edge training. That's where we get better at things. So this is the fall.
It's almost like your summer is your season, like we talking about, however you want to phrase it. But that January program is your mini summer. So whatever you worked on for your fall, we're now going to put into play.
Little test run.
And we have the area of exposing one or two weaknesses, but come spring, we got a couple of fine tunes, finding office spaces, fine tuning your program for summer. But yeah, the fall is really the reflection and then train, plug and play for January program, and then fine tune a few things going into the spring.
Yeah, that's one tip here too. That just on the radar. Use your January program as a mini launch to your summer.
Yeah,
Like that is a legitimate, and this is exactly what I told all my TLA candidates. So I told all of them, hey, look, here's the deal. They're all away at school right now. I've got, you know, like I think we have 9 or 10 people right now with letters of intent in, and almost all of them are away at school. So they're all coming back and they all want to run, you know, they've already ran a branch office, so they're going to run a second one, or they're assistant manager for me this summer, run another branch office summer. But they're going to come back to school. But I'm telling them, hey, like December, you got to use this as a test run for your branch office. So, you know, they need to start doing social media work. I know you did social media this whole entire summer, but like how much result did you actually get from it? Mm-hmm. Right. So like, you know how to do it, but have you got a result from the program? And you don't want this summer to be the first time, let me test out if I can actually go to random territory and get some results off of social media and build a business and get it going. It's like, how about you use this fall as an opportunity to do that? You get some PDI, you know, that's basically a training practice ground for them during the summertime, as well as a little mini test execution. Can I recruit some people over social media? Can I get them into my office, and can I get them launched out and trained and almost like build a business from nothing? Because if they can do that, they're going to be able to do it this summer. Yeah. You know, so I think about like, hey, where did you miss out the ball in terms of like your launch for this past year and the past summer, and how can you do it differently in January to like test out some things and make sure that you're feeling good? Because it's pretty similar in terms of like how you get it going during January program in terms of the summer too, and you got 3 weeks where they're not at school. So
right. All good, brother. Just a lot of good stuff in here, and my hopes that when our management staff, of whether they're absolutely brand new and this is their first fall in the business or it's their 20th fall, anywhere in between, they can look at this, they can listen, they can take down 1 or 2 things and say, you know what, there is that 1% area of opportunity. Hey, we'd love all to grow 100%. We'd love to double ourselves today, right? But realistically, can we improve ourselves by 1% today? And then if you improve yourself 1% per day for the next 100 days for the fall, come January program, you're 100% better, you know, than where you were. And I really think that we do the mini wins along the way, taking some tips that you've given and just making a dedication to improve yourself. If you just showed up and did what you were supposed to do, right? No more, no less, just what you were supposed to do. Imagine what that could look like, right?
Yeah.
Dude, I can't thank you enough for your time. I know that you said you had some things that you need to get going to, and I don't want to take up any more of your time, although I guarantee our listeners are absolutely loving it. I'm having a ton of fun with you too. So let's talk about paint. You know, let's get nuts here. What kind of paint? I'm joking. We got the last minute here. It's called the lightning minute of fun here. Lightning.
I haven't heard of these before, so this should be.
You have not. So the podcasts are going great here. These interviews are going great. All right.
So I do have it. I actually have a big list, and it is on the list. So
no, please, no, I'm joking. So this is a lightning round. I'm going to put a minute on the clock, and I'm going to ask you random questions and see how well you do, okay?
Okay.
Are you ready for it?
Yep.
Okay, 1 minute, and go. Okay, if it is 11:59 a.m. in 1 minute, what time is it, noon or midnight?
It's 11:59 a.m. in 1 minute.
What time is it in 1 minute?
It's noon.
Very good. Name a state that begins with the letter K.
Kentucky.
Very good. What is the capital of Florida?
Tallahassee.
Are you a chocolate or vanilla guy?
Vanilla.
Who would win in an arm wrestling contest, Trey Ketchum or Larry Manley?
Larry Manley.
Who's better looking, you? Trey Ketchum?
No, just keep going.
Whoa. Who's better looking, you or Ryan Gosling?
Is that the same question you used for everybody? No. Okay. Definitely me.
What is the candy that is Taste the Rainbow?
Skittles.
How many states are there in the U.S.?
50.
50, okay. And what weighs more, a ton of bricks or a ton of feathers?
They weigh a ton.
What's that?
They weigh a ton, both of them.
Oh, all right, stud. And that is the minute, sir. We just so you know, we have people. Oh, we're watching.
Andrew, I have a question for you.
Yeah. Let's go.
Name a state that ends with the letter K.
This is advanced.
This is an advanced
2.0.
A state that ends with the letter K.
Yes.
You can get back to us and email us. Does that sound good?
Is there a state that ends with a K?
Yes.
There is 100%.
Yankees.
New York. Oh my God.
Okay, John got that one wrong, and he's
I'm from
the
New York,
state.
and I got it wrong. I said there isn't one.
And you're from New York, and you said there isn't one.
Yeah, totally.
Is that just like a brain thing? No one can like think about something that ends in a K, or
Dude, thank you for your time. Thank you for having some fun. Just to clarify, Larry Manley or Trey Ketchum?
I'm gonna go with Trey Ketchum.
Please check out Andrew's podcast. It is blowing up. It is the top 100 on iTunes for the business section. Every place I go, I'm hearing nothing but positive things, and you get a chance to listen to more about Andrew on the podcast. And dude, thanks so much again. Thanks for your time and taking away from your trip here, and I appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, get your salespeople on it too, because there's at least 6, 7. I don't know. There's a whole entire sales mastery series for your people. Everything like handling objections, building rapport, selling yourself. So good stuff for content for your people. Like just whenever they're struggling with something, send them this.
Yeah. Multiple avenues of learning, and this is a great one. So thanks for all you do, dude. I'll talk to you soon.
Appreciate you, John. Thanks.
All right, see you, bud.